Okay, welcome to another problem on finding a linear model for a real-world situation. So let's read the problem. A farmer had over 500 acres of land that she was trying to develop into orchard. She started out with 150 acres of apple orchard in 2010, and she had planted cherries and pears over a 5-year period, and it increased her orchard to 275 acres. So assume that she's trying to plant about the same number of acres every year to increase her orchard at a linear rate. So, it says to write a linear equation that represents the number of acres of orchard the farmer has since the year 2010. So in the year 2010, that starting amount was 150 acres. So that's our beginning. We often call that P sub 0 is what the book uses sometimes. We also call it, in y equals mx plus b terms, we call it B. That's that y-intercept, and that's 150. B is used for something else in exponential functions, so we often don't use that in like Math 107. Usually call it P sub 0. But anyway, it shows that she has 275 acres after 5 years. So she went from 150 to 275 in a 5-year period. So that's an increase of, if you take the 275, you have to subtract the 150. This we could call like year 0. After 5 years, from year 0 is the starting year. So we'll start with 2010, and then in 2015, that's 5 years later. That's our slope. You can call that M. Or we can call it D. That's also what's used in M is the old y equals mx plus b form, and P sub 0 and D are what are used in the book typically. So that's going to be 125 acres over a 5-year period, which is 25. So that's our slope, or our constant difference. So the formula would be, instead of y equals mx plus b, we'll say P of n, or sometimes P sub n. It's the same, can kind of have the basic same meaning. P sub n or P of n are kind of equivalent, interchangeable for our purposes. So that's the y value. That is like y, right? So mx plus b, or dn plus P sub 0, would be 25n plus 150. That is, it increased 25 acres per year, starting out at 150 acres. So using that formula from part A, how many acres will she have in the year 2022? So n is going to be equal to how many years since the beginning? Well, 2022 is going to be 12 years since the year 2010. So we're going to take P sub 12, I guess, after 12 years, is equal to 25 times 12 plus the 150. So 25 times 12 is 300. 300 plus 150 is 450 acres. Now it says, according to the formula, when will she reach 500 acres of orchard? Well, you can tell just by looking at this that that's only 50 acres away. And if you're doing 25 acres a year, that should take 2 more years. So that should be in 2024. If we did this using the mathematics, though, we'd say,